Hello everyone, it's Kavita from Red Door Yoga. Welcome back to our mini sutra series online. Today I wanted to talk to you about the idea that you are not who you mimic. Now, recently I was talking to you guys about the biological imperative that we all have, that we're all born with, and that imperative, of course, is to survive, but it's a biological imperative where in order to survive, we learn to focus on pleasing others. Because when you're a baby, as I mentioned, you need people to love you enough to pick you up or you will die. You need them to love you enough to feed you or you will die. You need them to love you enough to shelter you or you will die. So we do this as babies by pleasing the adults that are around us, mainly our mothers or fathers, with the idea that they will then feed us and house us and hold us because those are physiologically required to survive. And I mentioned to you when I was talking about this previously that, as we're growing up and we grow into adults, we ideally need to be able to see through that mechanism because it's going to fire off. It's going to fire off when you're 96 years old. It doesn't matter how old you are. That imperative is hardwired in there, so it's always going to trigger off, and you can feel that need to please others. But you need to be able to see that the mechanism that's firing what it's telling you isn't as true as it seems to be. Meaning that when you're an adult and someone is displeased with you, you can have, that overt response, like they're displeased with me and as a result I'm going to die. You feel like you're going to die, but you need to see through that and realize that's not true because you are an adult and you can feed yourself, you can comfort yourself, and you can shelter yourself. Okay, while your life is easier if they like you and they help you with these things, that is true. It is not necessary for your survival for them to like you and therefore help you with these things. So that was what I talked about previously. But like I said, I wanted to talk to you about the idea that you are not who you mimic. So the piece I want to talk about right now is the fact that in order to get our parents and others around us to like us, what we tend to do is we tend to mimic them. Okay. Now, this again is part of the hardwired mechanism. We have, basically these neurons that are put in us in order for us to learn to mimic others. If somebody smiles at you, you smile back. If somebody scowls at you, you scowl back, or you back up in a way that says, "Oh, your behavior is saying that you're not so sure about me, and therefore I'm not so sure about you. I'm going to mirror that type of attitude and behavior." If someone sits in front of you and they cross their arms and kind of close themselves off, the tendency is very quickly we'll start to do something like that will kind of close ourselves off from that person. And we're not even always aware that we're doing it. Sometimes one of the easiest ways to become aware that we're doing it is and that we're expecting it from others, is if we don't get what we're expecting, such as you smile at someone and they are completely blank when they're looking back at you. That's very disconcerting to us because we mimic others and we expect others to mimic us, right? So we notice when it's missing. We don't always notice when it's there because it's just so natural to us. So, as I was saying, because when you're a baby, your ability to please others so that they'll love you enough for you to survive is very strong. One of the ways you do that is by mimicking them. And in fact, sometimes if you have a parent who you cannot seem to please, you cannot seem to get their love, you might actually find yourself mimicking them considerably. And then you grow up constantly trying to mimic their behavior, and then you grow up into effectively what you believe is them. So you become them. And that doesn't always sit well with us. And one of the things I want to say to you again is that you're not who you mimic. You need to be able to see that if you think you're your mother or you think you're your father, you are not them. You may have mimicked them, and you will have mimicked them in order to try to get their love, which is in order to survive. But that does not mean that that is you. Okay? You are not who you mimic. In order, however, to remove these patterns of mimicking that you may have developed over your lifetime, you have to remove the impetus for the pattern. In other words, as the adult that you are now, you need to be able to see that you don't need their love. Okay. Again, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're not going to love you because you're going to treat them, badly and what have you. It's just that you don't need it anymore. You don't, you can move against them. If you don't believe in something, or something goes against your personal, ethical line, you can say that even if they're displeased with you, because you don't need them to survive. So if you can really see through this and remove this idea that getting them to love you is detrimental to your survival and is so important, if you can remove that impetus, you will notice very quickly that behaviors that you had so ingrained into you because you were mimicking them since you were a child, since you were a baby, those can actually disappear quite quickly. And you start to see that the person you took yourself to be all your life is not at all who you are. Okay? And you'll start to get to actually know yourself. Who are you when you are not spending so much of your energy and time trying to please others in order to get them to love you because you think you need it to survive? All right. I hope this was helpful, everyone. And I really would love you to take the time to start to look at some of your behaviors and start to look at them and go, these behaviors that I know as myself, are they actually me mimicking someone that I can think of that I, held a place in my life that held power in some way, shape, or form, perceived power over me, perceived power over my survival in some way. Okay? All right. I thank you for coming and joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you online every week. If you have questions, if you have comments, please put them in the comments section. I do read your questions and I do read your comments on a regular basis, and they help me to help you. Okay? Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you online again very, very soon. Namaste.